Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Carmel Gilbert, writer, editor, and self-publisher of the book The House of Addiction. The House of Addiction is an autobiography of my life story about being addicted to alcohol for over 30 years. And today I like to piggyback off the video that I made earlier called Life Without a Father. Um, During the years when I was wondering where my father was and why he never came looking for us, it was a man that my mother was with, and she was with him since I was 12 years old. We'll call him Pete. Pete was the type of man that was very kind. He was charismatic, and Pete was also married. Pete occupation was, he was an Arabber. He sold fresh fruit to our community, and everyone that came within his path just loved him. We grown to love Pete as well, and he made sure we ate. I don't know if you guys ever watched my video. What was the name? I'm trying to think of it right off a hand, but the name of the video was Sleeping with an Old Man at age 12. And I talked about how my mother was on drugs. Well, anyway, Pete was pretty much fed my mother drug habit. He gave her pretty much anything that she wanted. And it was just nothing like Pete. We all loved him. We all adore him. But then when my mother passed away in 1999, Pete did something that absolutely devastated me. He didn't attend my mother's funeral, nor did he come for the repast. He didn't, he pretty much just blocked us out of his life permanently with no warning, just left. Just didn't want any more dealings with us. And at this point, I was in my early 30s. Um, that just devastated me because I really, really cared for Pete. I even stuck up for him when my father finally came to town. My brother found my father um, using the library's computer. And when he came for the reunion, um, we was all very, very happy to meet our father. But our father, as time went by, well, a short time went by, and he didn't care too much for Pete. And we all stuck up for Pete because we loved him. He was like the only father that we ever known. And so that pretty much devastated me when he didn't show up for my mother's funeral. I had asked him one day, maybe about 5 years later, I was curious, and I said, "Why didn't you come to my mother's funeral?" And he said, "Your aunt, Melva, asked me not to because of your father." And I thought that that was just the weakest excuse I have ever heard in my life, because um, if you've been with somebody for over 20 years and they pass away, um, you let someone else influence you not to go and pay your last respects. Now, I don't know if he went to the funeral prior, to view the body or what have you, but I've never heard anything about him viewing the body or anything like that. I was pretty much devastated. I felt like every man in my life that I put my trust in let me down. Um, that caused me to drink even more. Um, as I said in my video, when I influenced by prostitution, I guess I was looking for love, you know. Not to necessarily say, looking for love, um, because I didn't have a father. But I just needed, um, it's just so hard to explain. I needed someone to love me. I needed a male figure in my life. Um, it was just pretty much, you just, as a child, you don't understand things as an adult does. I mean, you just don't know what's going on. Why this person doesn't love me? Why this person left? Is it me? Um, Pete also said to us that day that his children was mistreating him because he was with my mother for all those years, and I got very, very angry. Actually, we was at my sister Darnell's dinner party she was hosting, and she invited Pete to come, and I'm still hostile over the fact that he didn't attend my mother's funeral. He had already explained why he didn't come, but then he was saying, my sister Javelle had asked him, how's the kids, Pete? And he was like, they mistreat me because I was with your mother for all those years. And I got really upset. And I told him, I said, I don't know why your children um, felt that they have to mistreat you because you was with my mother for 20 years. Although you were married, my mother was married too. You know, I just wanted to cuss his children, his sons out because he called them by name. And the sons that he called by name, I remember them very vividly, um, eating at my mother's dinner table. They spoke with her all the time. And for him to say that that's the reason why they mistreated him, I got really upset to the point where I had to leave the dinner party because I was taught never to disrespect your elders. I found my voice to be getting loud. My sister Darnell was like, calm down, Carmel. This is Pop you talking to. And at this point, I didn't look at him as my Pop anymore. I felt betrayed. I felt hurt. Um, Words can't even describe how my heart was broken. I believe it was broken in so many pieces beyond repair. To this day, I have trust issues. I really do. I have trust issues because you get so excited about someone and they be in your life for up to 10 years, and then that's when they reveal their true colors, that they really didn't care about you. I believe you never really actually know a person. I believe that to my heart. Even all the boyfriends that I have had, you know, started off okay, and then it just went downhill from there. Um, Pete eventually died in 2016, and I was fighting with myself. Should I go? I was that upset still that I was debating, should I go to his funeral? And I did. I seen at the funeral they was showing his family, his wife, his children, and the life that they had. Now, we were never welcome, like, near his house. We could never go to Pete's house for nothing. My brothers, a few of my brothers, they all developed a relationship with Pete's wife, but not us girls. So I got to see his wife, which was also deceased, his children, and the birthday parties and the cookouts and the happy times that they had together. But we also had happy times with Pete. I miss him. It's just hard to let go of when you find yourself trusting somebody. And well, he, like I said, he was like a father figure to me. And I tried to dislike him, but at the end, I couldn't. See, that's the thing I was talking about in another video. Parents, you don't know what they went through. I don't know what my mother went through. As I said in one video, I don't know. My mother grew up in the 40s. My biological father grew up in the 40s, which was during segregation. And plus, my mother grew up on a farm. My mother had 12 siblings, and they lived in a house, a small house that would put you in the mind of Little House on the Prairie. They had an outhouse that I got the opportunity to use one time. I guess I was about 3 or 4 years old. I'll never forget that outhouse as long as I live. It was just awful. It had magnets at the bottom of it. Um, where water's supposed to be, it was magnets. It was hundreds of them. And I remember thinking to myself, if I pee on myself, I'm going to get the daylights beat out of me. Because back in those times, parents didn't negotiate with their children. It's either do or get beat. I guess that's why my siblings and I developed great manners. And not even to this day, we respect our elders. My children grew up with Pete as their grandfather before my father came into the picture. And they love Pete too. They thought nothing of Pete not showing up at the funeral, but it devastated me. I felt my mother was with him for nothing. I don't really think that Pete and my mother actually loved each other. I just think they was with each other for whatever they could gain. You know, both of them was married. Like I said, my mother was married to my father to the day she died. Soon as my mother passed away, my biological father immediately married a woman around his age. I believe my father was like maybe 50 something or older when my mother passed away. He married a woman around his own age, and then that didn't work out. You have to read the book to see why. Then he married another young lady, which was 20 years his junior. And of course, that didn't work out. I never really had stable adults around me in my life to tell me anything or to feel a certain way of how a man should treat a woman. I was always looking on to my mother getting beat. Even Pete hit my mother one time. And the ambulance came because my mother stabbed him in the back. My mother was abused so long while living in New York that I guess she just got tired of it and just took every frustration out on Pete. And he never hit her again, I'm going to tell you. He called her my mother. Pete gave my mother a nickname. And that nickname was Cherokee. My mother was Indian. And he was the only one who called her that. My biological father also gave my mother a nickname. And the nickname that he gave her was Lucky. And I asked her one day, I said, why did he call you Lucky? Or why did he just call you Lucky? And she said, my mother said, you're not going to believe this. I was like, try me. And she was like, He gave me the name Lucky because he felt I was lucky to have him. And I was, what? Well, you gotta be kidding me. And we just laughed it off. But, you know, when you look back over it and you see the significance of it, it wasn't funny. I believe my father treated my mother like that. My biological father treated my mother like that because he felt she ruined his life. They met at the movies in New York, at a movie theater. Within minutes, they was at a motel, and she got pregnant. He was already engaged to another woman that, well, let me rephrase that. She wasn't a woman yet, but he was engaged to her until she got 18, and his plans was to marry her. But then when my mother got pregnant, he, in my father's word, quote, I didn't want my child to be a bastard, unquote. So he married her. And I thought years later, he called my mother lucky. But I think the woman that he wanted to marry was the lucky one. Well, anyway, guys, I'm going to end this with I love you, and have a drug-free day. Bye-bye.